Okay, let's do the joke first then.
Okay.
I don't know what joke. Sam, did you hear the one about the Donald Trump and a Renaissance album?
No, I didn't hear the one about that.
The album is called Asses Are Burning. Yeah, so hello and welcome back to In the Court of the Wenton King. We are back. Apologies for the hiatus.
My fault.
We should be back now, I hope. It was actually... Well, I was off for a bit, and then you were off for a bit, weren't you? But we were actually... We had some in lieu, but it was enough. Never mind. Renaissance.
Is this a request, by the way? I think this is a request, isn't it?
This is a request from our Patreon.
Yeah.
www.patreon.com/WentonKing. I'll forget to put the link in the description. And yes, so we are doing Renaissance. Look how cool they are. They are the coolest band in the world. I mean, don't look at that because she's quite pretty. You need to look at that side because they're just the coolest people. Aren't they the coolest people you've ever seen? Look,
yeah.
I mean, look at the hair, the sort of poodle thing.
A moustache as well, man.
Yeah. I wish I could be that cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, the intro to this was so long because the story of the band is obviously very complicated. I had to cut that out, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll start with this is the second album by this band, if that makes any sense, even though it's not their second album. Most of it is complex structured pieces embellished with orchestral treatments. The orchestra isn't really integrated into the music yet. It will be. Neoclassical is an easy word, but at this point there's still a fair amount of what I would call hippie strumming. Tracks 2 and 3 are strumming songs, and that's cool. That's okay. And track 4 is the single as well. So there's only 6 tracks, but that's actually only a small proportion of the music, obviously, because the other tracks are long songs. Tasteful piano-based compositions, perfect pitch vocals, matching the required melody exactly. No singing in a silly voice. They very much embody prog. You know, if you want to know what prog is, you probably listen to Renaissance. I'm not sure this album though, actually, but it defines it as much as King Crimson, Genesis, ELP, or Yes. Doing this after Roxy Music is a thing.
Ooh.
And actually having those two requested was a good thing because they're a great juxtaposition of very, very different things. It's great to get back to something musically substantial, you know, rather than what was actually very, very straight songs, very, very straight rock music with lots of pretense. You know, was it pretentious? Don't know, but it was pretending. Underneath, it was just normal rock music, wasn't it? This doesn't have any of that. There is no bullshit. It is just music. These are the notes, and this is the singing, and that's how we do it. You know, yeah. This is a good one of those. There's still lots of, like I said, strumming folk stuff, not yet full symphonic prog, which they would come to define. And that's it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, but do you actually like the album, Kev? I played this for Sarah because she doesn't like my music and she turns it off whenever I put it on in the car. And I thought Sarah might actually like this because, yeah, I mean, it's got definite proggy stuff about it, but the thing that stands out for me is her voice. Yeah, something very 60s about it, sort of.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Karen Carpenter type.
Because I think
lovely
it's 70s.
Really?
Yeah, it makes me think 70s. But yeah, same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just crystal clear. And
it's beautiful. It's sort of a really, really nice voice. None of the booming, powerful voices that you have now, like, you know, bloody Mariah Carey and Adele, who, you know.
Yeah. Oh, and what's her face? Woman.
Yeah. Yeah, just bloody lovely, actually.
Okay, so my prediction, Sarah didn't like it.
She said, Sam, this is the best album you've ever reviewed.
Okay.
Now, whether she said that seriously or not, I don't know, because she was doing a "oh" thing in the kitchen, mimicking it at the time. Yeah, I'm harbouring a bit of a cold. That's why when I sang then, it wasn't quite perfect. Normally I'm pitch perfect.
Yeah, obviously.
So yeah, there's something very nice about it, and even the instrumentals, it never gets sort of angry and too disjointed that's offensive. Although it does get, you know, there's a little bit in there.
It's polite, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can come off sounding a little bit like film music at times.
Yes, which is the thing. Yeah.
Which I don't know why that's disappointing, but it is. You know, when a film's got a good score, you always praise it. Oh man, what a score! You know, Vangelis in Blade Runner or whatever. But when you listen to an album and you think that sounds like film music, that's not a compliment. No. It's quite a. It's a bit of a criticism, really. But I mean, great instrumentals, great progressions, and Renaissance type music. Is that right? Can I say that?
It's not Renaissance.
No. Actually, Sarah said it did sound like old style old music.
Oh.
And I said, well, they're called Renaissance, and she goes, that'll be why then.
But old music, does she mean 70s, or does she mean?
No, she means like classical music and Baroque music and things like that.
Well, yeah, which it is.
Yeah, okay. So, are these? Would you say this is sort of like a similar thing to Blackmore's Night?
No,
that's good.
Not at all. Which is interesting. We'll talk about that in the next two. You know the one.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I like this, particularly the voice, and I'm not one for saying, "Oh, the voice does it for me." I don't think I've said that before. Actually, have we done?
Very rarely you're impressed with vocals. But, I mean, you're not normally impressed with technical vocals, are you?
No.
You're an anti-Dio.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm normally turned off by vocals, if anything.
I mean,
it
felt. I mean, I love Roxy music, and it was a new thing, and it was great and everything. But it was so sort of refreshing, and I've listened to this a lot because powerful voice, you know, that's pitched perfect, and it is. You know, and you could criticise that it's too perfect, you know, rather than man in a suit. It's great, you know.
Yeah, the anti-Bowie.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not going to say there's no pop, because there is a tiny bit still at this point, but it will be gone,
expunged. The purge of the pop. Well, that'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff. I'm quite interested and looking forward to hearing the background now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So Sam, what do you think of the Yardbirds? That was what the episode was going to start with.
The Yardbirds.
Yeah.
All right. 60s. I think we talked about doing some 60s stuff at one point, didn't we?
Yes.
And the Yardbirds would definitely be in there.
Definitely.
Yeah, they're all right. They're pretty good.
Good. Yeah. I think they're a really interesting band. You've got three of the biggest guitar names of all time in that band, you know, and all three of them are always in the pointless top lists of top guitarists. The less too good, the two of them, the less good two, are always number 2 and 3 in these stupid lists. Pointless. Jeff Beck once said they were overqualified in the guitar department, but underqualified in the songwriting department. Is that a bit harsh? I mean, there's a lot of memorable songs, and I think they're cool, entertaining, pop value songs, you know. Now, allegedly, when most people were sort of into the Beatles and the Stones, I mean 64, 65, really, there was a sort of third group of kids, and I mean specifically in the UK, who would have been into the Yardbirds. They were seen as a sort of, if you're into the Yardbirds, that's kind of a bit subversive. Which is funny now, you watch Keith Ralph, you know. But in that context, yeah, they are underqualified in the songwriting department, aren't they? They're not as good as the Beatles and the Stones. Yeah, so the story of the Yardbirds is very complicated. I've tried to abridge the story. Jeff goes off in a huff. Paige takes the lead and starts writing heavier stuff with support of Peter Grant, obviously. Chris Dredger leaves to be a photographer. So Keith Relf and Jim McCarty, they want to go in a sort of folk neoclassical direction. More of a classical influence is the quote. I think you can read into that. It's a reaction to Jimmy Page's obsession with American music. You know, I mean, Page does lots of things. Led Zeppelin very diverse, but it's the Led Zeppelin thing. It's appropriating American music, isn't it? So that was probably maybe a reaction to that, because you think Page was probably very intense about all that stuff. You can imagine. Chris Dredger, of course, he went off to be a photographer, so he's the person to listen to about it because he's got no bias. He said they wanted to make beautiful waterfall music, and here they are, embryonic Led Zeppelin. You know, what's interesting? So they went off and formed this band. But after 1.5 albums of waterfall music, and possibly suffering from the Yardbirds connection, I think they got put on the wrong tours. They got put on a tour with the Kinks and things like this. That the whole band left. Okay, there are no original members on this album, effectively. So effectively, a different band was formed as a contractual obligation. When people say the band Renaissance, they mean this band. But that's the thing; it's a completely different group of people who've been brought together. They didn't grow up together. Not even two of them grew up together or anything like that. It's a manufactured band with a consistent musical vision. You've got the sort of two big names in the band. It's the composer guy and the singer, obviously. Although interestingly, the composer isn't the pianist, but we'll talk about that. And not only was it better than the original band, it sort of surpasses the aims of the original band. Bands that grow up together don't really become prog bands because you'll never get enough members who have got the skills. And you think about it, none of them are like that. Not even Yes.
What about Genesis?
Genesis is different though, aren't they? Genesis are the special case.
Right, they're the exception that proves the rule.
Yeah. In that they had to get fill-in, I suppose, and whatever. Yeah. So unlike the Keith Relf band, they're real prog rockers, rather than pop stars trying to do that. And each album was another step forward in service of an aim. Although they went through lots of band members before they got to here. I mean, I think Annie Haslam wasn't there at the start, and they'd actually auditioned a lot of different bass players, including John Wetton. I think John Wetton was sort of in the band at one point, interestingly. Great name for a band, actually. Although it's sort of wrong.
Yeah.
you think it's going to be Renaissance music, and it isn't. But the word means rebirth, rediscovery, and that, coming out of the 60s blues stuff, we'll rediscover this stuff. It's great to have female vocals. A lot of bands more recently have female vocals, and often when you get like cover bands of 70s bands, they have a female vocalist because they can reach the high notes. You think that the sort of frequencies of neoclassical melodies, they're quite high. So it makes sense to have a female vocalist who can actually sing the notes properly rather than going, or just sing like a woman, like John Anderson. Or Plant, I suppose, sort of, early on. They've got a separate lyricist, like 70s King Crimson. They've got a poet woman who lives in Cornwall. If you're going to have words, I think that's a good idea. Rather than getting band members to write the words. I just find, for the most part, certainly at this point, the lyrics are just there. I don't listen to them, which is a good sign. Later on, obviously, they're about whatever they're about, but but her name was Betty Thatcher.
Oh no!
Yeah, right. And instantly, what's everyone thinking? She changed her name in the early 80s. Controversial. And her husband, who was Mr. Thatcher, is a very private person. That's the only information. Oh dear. So that's cool. Yeah. Anything else to say about Ashes Are Burning?
No. I'm still unclear on the link between the Yardbirds and these. And so the Yardbirds ended and these sort of...
Yeah, so the singer and one of the main people, the drummer in the Yardbirds,
left and did this.
Formed a band called Renaissance.
Right.
But they then left.
Right.
And there's nobody left. So this is a completely different band from the first album.
How strange.
Yeah, and it's weird.
Yeah.
So it is a manufactured band for contractual obligations. And they've got their own vision.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but it's interesting, the idea that you have to have got to be real. You've got to make it real. It's got to be down on the streets. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just a group of people, and something happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's bits of classical references. Can you understand references? Dr. Zhivago. Well, that's quite cool. At the Harbour features a bit of Debussy. Is it Debussy or Debussy?
I always say Debussy.
Debussy.
I bet that's an American way of doing it,
In the middle section. That had to be edited out in the later 70s because there was some sort of copyright tellingly ignored by the British music press. We'll talk about that next week, I think. The British music press are basically evil. They actively ignored them deliberately. So they're very big in the US. I think particular areas of the US, I think like maybe the northeast.
Well, the Yardbirds were very big in the US, weren't they?
They were. Yeah, potentially, had they kept it together and Jeff Beck hadn't stormed off and all that stuff, they would have been enormous. They were just too disarrayed. Yeah, that's it.
Dazed and Confused, the Yardbirds.
Was it called Dazed and Confused? Not I'm Confused. That's interesting. Because the one I've seen is called I'm Confused.
The Yardbirds in '68, live at.
Don't be... if you do listen to Dazed and Confused by the Yardbirds, don't be disappointed. I mean, Keith Relf singing that. Dazed and confused for so long, it's not true. After Plant going, is
I mean, my memory of the Yardbirds is actually as part of a film track for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, they're on that, aren't they?
Yeah. Somewhere near Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold.
Or like Over Under Sideways Down. I think that exemplifies it the best. It's really entertaining, it's funny, and it's actually about their experience touring, I think. When will you turn? Yeah. I think it's great. But you realise actually there's a lot of songs, so yeah, that's cool. But yeah, this album, we should talk about the epic, shouldn't we? Ashes Are Burning.
Yeah.
There's the obligatory live 20-minute version, which is just a load of solos. It gets a sort of balance right, I think, at that point. There's no bombast, it's not over the top. Later stuff is over the top, so that's cool. And they got the guy from Wishbone Ash doing a cool bit of guitar at the end, which makes it less ELP-y, I suppose, having a bit more guitar.
Don't you find sometimes if you get a song perfectly balanced that it becomes completely forgettable?
Can do.
Sometimes you need a bit of unbalance there to make it,
Yes.
stand out.
Yeah, I am finding going back to the albums that I don't quite feel about them how I thought I felt about them. I'm bigger on the next two, actually, which surprised me.
Interesting.
So yeah, I don't know. Is it 4 eggs? Probably.
Yeah. Very good.
Very good.
You can put it on.
And you can listen to it and enjoy the sounds that come out of the speakers.
Yeah.
Or headphones as you listen to it, because the music's good.
Yeah.
Great. I'm glad you enjoy watching us talk about music.
I need more energy.
It's all right, we've got 30.
There's no sugar, so the sugar tax isn't going to get us.
Yeah, so it's all right. So it's all perfectly healthy. Don't look at the ingredients, Jesus. Don't look at the ingredients in Coke. Diet Coke, bloody hell. Yeah. So, it's good to be back.
Yeah.
Hello. We should be back to normal, hopefully, next week.
Yeah, I think so.
Sam's having epic renovation. He says new kitchen, but it's a bit more than that. Really.
Right. It's a kitchen, almost a rebuild, basically.
New room with another room next to it and a kitchen, isn't it? That's what it is.
Yeah, they said 3 to 4 weeks. Next week is, the entire project was supposed to be 3 to 4 weeks. Next week is the 6th week. But we've got an oven now, and we've got a dishwasher. And I believe the hob's going to be connected beginning of next week. So
you'll never have takeout again.
No, I will not.
Because you're done with it now, aren't you?
Yeah. So we're getting there, yeah?
Yeah.
Right then.
Cool.
Glad everyone knows about that.
Yeah, well, it's important to let you know.
Yeah.
Thanks to our Patreons for your support, really. I mean, obviously we've been off the air, haven't we? We're saying, Patreon, give us money, and then there's nothing. So yeah, cool. That www.patreon.com/WentonKing. Goodbye. Thank you.